explain a little bit more on what a dioform is, when I say it normally, people hear it as dia, as in two, like a dipole or dia, whatever. But it's dio, as in dio, as in God form, or a divine, what I call a divine somatic wave. And I say a somatic wave because it's a bad use of the words. We don't have, currently, I can't find words better for you to explain this, but all matter is shaped by vibration. All consciousness is an effect, a tertiary effect that is shaped by the vibration that shapes matter into matter. It's a subwave or a background echo that is consciousness that happens to take a more solid form inside of frames such as the brain or a tree or stuff like this, and it moves into things of organic growth and action and art and fighting and writing and whatever you want to pick. But the base energy form behind all things is a dioform. So we have a central dioform, which we would refer to as God, the unknowable thing beyond all things. You can't even measure this vibration. But the secondary vibrations or waveforms that come from this are quite visible, and you can see how they shape all matter. Stones, crystals, and things like this, they have a tendency to be shaped in specific patterns, not only because of their chemical compositions, but normally because of the natural acoustic vibrations in the area, such as the caves and stuff like that.
This train will stop at Wentworth.
You can see in the base form of most things that when you play a specific vibration or a specific sound, as we would understand vibration in the context of interactable vibration, when you play a specific sound through something like sand or liquid, the sand or the liquid takes a shape according to the vibration of the sound. And so you can go back to pre-matter state, before things were bound into couplings of chemicals and couplings of particles, to when everything was a base form, and this vibration would have shaped this base form part by part into what then became the complications that then became the particles and the chemicals and the many things that we know today, that through more vibration would have then coupled and bundled up and through complicated whatever, become life forms that we know today, stones and natural formations that we know today. This swirling, this vibrating, this humming, this eminence, whatever it is, comes from a central point of the universe, which causes the swirling of all planets, the stars and everything. And the swirling of all the planets and stars is actually what gives everything at some point its semi-spherical shape, because you've just got an infinite void with things spinning around each other infinitely, and at some point they take an almost cyclical motion being a circle. Any physical body that is shaped, that's a 2D shape, would likely take, because of its unstable rotation, would likely take a spherical shape in its nature. And this is reflected on a microcosm. You've got tiny particles, atoms and whatnot, and then you zoom out to the macrocosm and you can see the universe as a whole moves like this, is shaped like this. And as they say since the beginning in the Hermetic traditions, it's, if you want to understand, like as above, so below. If you want to understand something you can't understand on the ground, look up into the sky. If you want to understand something that you can't look up, that you can't understand in the sky, you look down here on the earth and you find the answer. And in all things, there's a juxtaposed and yet balanced understanding of the other things. And this, I think, is really basic to explain when you look at the thing I was saying before about the nature of Jove being present in pigeons. Say the nature of Jupiter, the nature of the region of the cycles and the seasons, lives within the migrating birds and animals on the planet that far migrate and that are widely known. So pigeons traveled heaps far before we started taking them around the world as well anyways. And then we added to their cyclical nature by separating the distances they travel and from whence and where between they travel. And this reflects the nature of Jove or Jupiter in the cycle of life and growth and birth. Without the nature of Saturn, death, or Samael, war, destruction, purging. So it goes more to the pure nature of humanity, in the sense of the pure nature of animals. They say humans in their nature, we don't kill unless it's necessary, unless we're insane. And birds, they don't. I think these creatures being tapped into the diaform or directly resulting from the diaform, it's likely that they have to do with the cyclical nature of this diaform, in the way that the movement represents the movement of the same energy. So it explains where basically where the harvest is, or basically where the movement of growth or life in the world is. So like this entropy energy, the input energy side of entropy is, I think it comes from this diaform that people labeled at one point as Jove or as Jupiter, and has also it's also observable in many other things, but I think pigeons is the simplest. I wonder if I have to tap off if I'm using my card hand.